So we are broadcasting here in Half Moon Bay, just south of San Francisco, and a beautiful coastal town. And I'm in the Half Moon Bay Distillery, which is a beautiful space at the harbor in Half Moon Bay. And they normally distill vodkas and gins, and they have those on sale online at hmbdistillery.com. They're really high end and they're really good. And then they also distill alcohol for disinfectant that they offer to the community for free on Saturdays and Sundays from 12 to 2. So I am doing tonight a program of all preludes. So a prelude is simply a piece before another piece sometimes. So it's something that precedes something else. So in the case of Bach, Bach wrote 48 preludes and fugues, and I'm going to be doing 3 of the preludes. Fugues are pretty complicated. It's counterpoint, and I decided when I turned 50, I decided no more fugues in public. I play them. I just don't play them for anybody except my dog, who's right here. Gina's right here. Good girl. So I'm going to be starting with 3 Bach preludes, then going into two Scriabin preludes, one for left hand only and one for 2 hands, then a Rachmaninoff, so now we're in the Russians, romantic, late romantic, and a Rachmaninoff prelude from Opus 23, and then closing the program with a group of 4 Chopin preludes. And as usual, I start these left-hand lemonades, so left-hand lemonade representing some of these have been completely 100% left-hand performances, while my right hand has been in recovery from 7 fractures, 4 surgery, and it's come along. So I'm playing tonight with almost all 2 hands, 1 piece for left hand only, and hopefully it provides you a dose of inspiration as well. So I've also been starting these. Left Hand Lemonade is the name of my working memoir that I'm writing. I'm taking a memoir class, and I'm reading a few books on memoir writing, and I'm in the middle, towards the end, of Mary Carr's book on the art of memoir. And she said something last week I kind of caught me off guard. She said, never share your memoir writing until it's fully edited and done. And I thought, oops. So here I am sharing this. This is like my own editing. This hasn't been edited by anyone professional. It's not even fully edited, but I'm enjoying reading sections for you. So the reason I'm going to read this section called My Debut Recital that I gave when I was 14 years old is because I started that debut with 3 preludes and fugues. I was too young to know how hard they were, and that's the benefit of youth, right? And also because it was on May 27th, and so that we just celebrated that anniversary. So this reading is from my memoir, my working title, my memoir, Left Hand Lemonade, work in progress, and this scene is called My Debut. I couldn't wait to get to my piano after school every day. I'd come home, have a quick snack, and walk from the kitchen into the long, narrow living room, close the sliding wooden door behind me, and I'd enter my own world with my piano. Shortly after I started playing, Doodle, our blonde Cocker Spaniel, would come lay by my side. It was my personal Narnia, my fantasy world of magic. Time stopped as I joined Bach, Beethoven, and Chopin, turning black dots on a page into sounds that enveloped me and provided enormous comfort. 4 hours flew by in no time. Preparing for my debut recital at the start of my freshman year in high school added to the allure of spending more time in my Narnia. I was up for the challenge of learning my first full solo recital, and the date was set for May 27th, 1976. I worked all year to prepare the demanding program, opening with 3 Bach preludes and fugues, notorious for being demanding on your brain. The littlest slip from the complicated counterpoint could cause the best of pianists to be scrambling for something to hang on to. My piano teacher, Mrs. Moore, had me label sections of each fugue from A to Z, and my memory was so laser-focused that she could call out a letter and I'd jump to it and start there. I had been practicing the Beethoven G major sonata for over a year. It's a light, early Beethoven sonata that's a good introduction to his larger works, a great starting point for any pianist. I hadn't been familiar with the works of Villalobos. We chose his floral suite because I needed a well-rounded program with something from the 20th century. That introduction to the Brazilian composer inspired me to fall in love with music from South America. The second half was challenging and impressive for any 14-year-old. I had started studying Chopin etudes when I was 11, and I spent an hour a day on each technically demanding study. I was ready to take 5 of them from a practice room to the concert stage, where they turn into beautiful, short, virtuoso pieces. Following Chopin's Fantasy Impromptu, that I knew like the back of my hand, came the big war horse Grand A-flat Polonaise to close the program. It wasn't my favorite, but it was my dad's, and I played it for him. My preparation was rock solid, and it showed. I was just as relaxed playing for hundreds of people as I'd been playing for Doodle in our living room. It was exhilarating to walk on stage, hear thunderous applause from a packed theater, wearing the chiffon light blue floral gown my mom made for me. It flowed freely as I walked to the piano, helping me feel like a star. All that practice of being able to start at any letter in each fugue paid off. I made it through flawlessly, no memory slips. After that, the rest of the performance felt like a breeze. I was thrilled to get a standing ovation that called for 2 encores, the E major nocturne of Chopin and Villalobos' O Polichinello. The recital was on a Thursday night before the Memorial Day holiday weekend. My parents hosted a huge party at our house after the debut. I enjoyed special congratulations from my proud Zadie, my grandpa, and from Mrs. Moore. She honored my debut with a full record collection of the Beethoven sonatas by Claudio Arrau, who was notorious for playing slowly, a skill I hadn't yet acquired, but influenced my playing when I matured. I was thrilled with my performance and was back at the piano on Saturday, learning my next Beethoven sonata. So that's a little introduction to my debut recital. I'm going to do some show and tell, and my sisters and brother may kill me for this, but if you can see a little bit of this. So this was me. I'm the youngest, and my sisters were all in long gowns too, along with me, along with my mom and dad and my brother. And it's a very delightful memory. So I chose a program starting with 3 preludes from Bach, and one of them, the C-sharp major prelude, is the one that I played in that debut along with a fugue that I'm not doing tonight. So the others, and I wrote the full program in the description, so I'm starting with that C-sharp major from Book 1, and then going to D major Book 1 and D minor Book 2. So what that means is Bach wrote 48 preludes and fugues in the well-tempered clavier. In each one, C major starts with Number 1 starts in C major. Number 2 is C minor. Number 3 is C sharp major. They each go up a half step. Number 4 is C sharp minor. Number 5, which I'm going to get to, is D major. And then he wrote 2 books of these preludes and fugues. They're great composition studies, great piano studies, great counterpoint studies. And I want you to pay attention as we're going to go from Bach to Scriabin to the Russians to Romantics to Scriabin to Rachmaninoff and then to Polish Romantic music of Chopin. If you could post either while you're listening or afterwards, post what you're feeling. Like, how do these pieces make you feel? And there's no wrong answer, there's no right answer. And you might feel one thing now and you might listen to this tomorrow and feel something else. But just share in a comment like what you're feeling as you listen along would be great. I find Bach to be very cleansing, very clearing. It's like clear-headed. So I tend to play a lot of Bach in the morning. It's unusual, very unusual for me to practice Bach at night, but practice this morning, so the C sharp and then the 2 D majors. Thank you. So what we do here, since there's no applause, it's always great to see hearts. Thank you. Those are my applause, and it's kind of my sign of like everyone's listening. It's going okay. So thank you. That concludes the Bach Prelude portion of the program. Thank you so much for the wonderful hearts. And I'm going to take a look, and I invite you all through the program to write in anything that you are feeling while you're listening to, any emotions that come up. For me, that last one, the D major for the book 2, if I want to feel, can't see comments in here. If I want to feel confident, that's like, it's like trumpets, and it's like, it has this majestic feeling to it. And You know, there's other pieces I like the Mozart 40th Symphony. If I want to feel happy, it's just happy music. So it's good to just tune into your emotions, and you're welcome to do that while I'm playing or afterwards is fine also. So moving on to Scriabin, I have shared some Scriabin. If you've been to my previous Left Hand Lemonade lives, if you could give me a thumbs up or a heart, a floating emoji, that would be fantastic. I see my Aunt Jeannie's on here, and I want to click this, and I bet I'll see the comments this way, and here they are. So great texture, thank you so much, and fun is a good comment, fantastic. Heart, delightful, fantastic. I love it. Thank you. And to me, that's what music is about. It's about igniting emotions, about getting in touch with your emotions and getting to explore. It's like your time out from life where you just get to be in touch with that. It's the beauty of music, of any kind of music. So if you've been, several of you have been to my, many of you have been to my other Left Hand Lemonades, and I did a program maybe 3 weeks ago that was 100% left hand, starting with this Scriabin. This is the first piece I ever learned for left hand only. It's just so beautiful, and so I can't play it enough. I've gotten good response from it. It's so beautiful. It's my left hand is 3 voices are my left hand, and then I'm going to another gorgeous Scriabin prelude for 2 hands. And these, Scriabin's late Romantic Russian. So these, I think this first one was written in 1894, and so the Romantic period, which was in the 19th century, but this was the later part of that. So I'm going to start with the one for left hand, and then I'm going to go into the Opus 11 number 21 for 2 hands. And again, I invite you, if you want to write down in a comment your emotions you're feeling as you listen. Well, Gina seems to be snoozing to that. So, if that relaxed you at home and if calm was the feeling that you felt during that, that's also fine too. And it's going to start to get a little richer in the music. Thank you for the hearts. And I'm not going to wake her. I'm just going to leave her there. I think you see her a little bit. She's very comfy. If you have a dog or a cat at home, maybe you could post that dog or cat's name in the comments. It'd be good to know. And if they're listening with you, let me know on that too. And since we're all listening at home, probably if you're at home and if you have a dog, they're by your side. If you have a cat, not so sure. But good to hear. So moving into Rachmaninoff, I am thrilled to play this piece. So I've played this for a long time, and the reason I am so thrilled to play this is because my hand recovery has been all about getting my extension back, and so getting my full range, and I've had limited reach in my outer two fingers, and Rachmaninoff requires large hands and a large reach, and I wasn't sure if I've ever be able to play any Rachmaninoff again. And I'm thrilled. I mean, Rachmaninoff is one of my favorites. I'm a born romantic composer. I love the Russians, and I'm just thrilled. The interesting thing about Rachmaninoff, he had enormous hands. I think he could reach a 14th. So my left hand is my normal size. My right hand's getting there. My left hand's my normal size, and it's an enviable reach. I can very comfortably reach a 10th, and I can reach to an 11th, which is very large for any pianist. And Rachmaninoff could reach a 14th. It's just like unheard of. Like, I don't know anyone alive that could reach a 14th. And he would write for that sometimes. But if we listen to his recordings, so we have his piano rolls from when there were player pianos, and they've been just transcribed into recordings. So in Rachmaninoff recordings from, the early 1900s and all the way to the 1942, he would play his own music, and he would have these big chords that, he would actually have smaller chords that he would roll. He would play like one note at a time. And then he'd have these enormous chords where he would just plant his hands down and play. So I thought, okay, well, I can play Rachmaninoff during my hand recovery if I roll a lot of chords, and he's not going to mind because that's what he did all the time with his own music. So this is the really gorgeous D major, Opus 23. Rachmaninoff wrote two opuses. So he wrote the Opus 23 works earlier, and there are 10 of those, I believe, and then 10 of the Opus 32, and this is I do a whole bunch from the Opus 23. Some are harder for my hand than others, but this is probably my favorite, the D major. And again, you're welcome to write down your emotions. This gets pretty passionate. And I've said this before if you've been in my Left Hand Lives, but this is such a great quote, I'm going to repeat it, that I read in program notes. It was the best one-sentence description I've ever read about Rachmaninoff, and I read it in program notes for the San Francisco Symphony. And it was, Rachmaninoff believed, why say something 2 or 3 times when you can say it 9 or 10? So he takes simple melodies and he just keeps expanding and expanding, and he does that a lot in this piece. Thank you. Thank you. So that's one of my favorites. And towards the end, towards the end, and I heard Gina, not quite snoring, but heavy breathing in there, and then she picked up. So thank you so much. Moving into those of you who have been with me a while, thanks again for the hearts. Love it. Thank you so much. Those of you who have been with me for a while know that I love Chopin. Can't get enough of his music. And did a whole Chopin program for two hands about a month ago or so. And I played some of these preludes, but I actually didn't play the last one I'm going to play tonight because a month ago my hand couldn't do it. So I am thrilled, and I'm still going by my motto, which is screw perfect and make music, but I'm thrilled. It's easier for me now than it was a month ago. It's a very virtuoso number 16, and this one is not so much about reach. This is about, I'm going to do a close-up here of my hands. So what happens, and I'll bend down, so what happens is that my, every night I wear a pinky splint because if you notice in this hand, like I can get it totally straight, as most people can. In this hand, it's getting there. I do all these exercises for it. And so this curls, my pinky, my fifth finger curls in a little bit. So it's really, I used to just miss, early in my recovery, I was just missing notes all the time. It was like a whole note I couldn't reach. So that is getting better, and it's been probably a year of wearing that splint. I used to wear it all the time, and now I just wear it when I'm sleeping. And so it's paid off, and like my hand therapist says, it's little by little, and it all adds up. So these are the preludes. So Chopin wrote 24 of these, and I'm going to be doing 4 consecutive ones, 13, 14, 15, 16. It kind of goes back and forth from slow to fast to slow, famous raindrop prelude. You'll hear a continuing raindrop. The A flat moving to G sharp is the so steady raindrop. When Chopin wrote these in the island of Majorca, which has a lot of fog and a lot of damp weather, and that's what inspired this. And then going into the finale, which is the very virtuoso number 16 prelude, which is my first time playing this since my hand injury 3 years ago. So thanks for joining me on this, and I'll meet you on the other side, so to speak. That is one of the hardest things for my hand that I played here since I've started this series on March 28th. So thank you. And I did it, and it'll just keep getting easier the more I do it. Thank you. Thanks for your support. Honestly, this whole experience, thank you. Love all the hearts. Love it. It's great. It's not an easy piece to begin with, and then with my hand injury on top of it. And there are parts that will get better, but I'm just thrilled to be able to play it. Thank you so much. Wow. So emotions. Did you write down while you were listening? Dramatic. I love that. And luxuriously flowing water, and fantastic, great comments. Any emotions you want to write down? I know there's a lot of contrast because it pretty much went from a slower prelude to a faster prelude. And thank you, Catherine. Always great to hear. I'm amazing. It's always that's a nice applause. Thank you. I have decided, so I got your input last week, and as we're starting to go into phase 2 and things are lightening up, beach is open on Monday, and hi, Gina. I'm going to continue the series. Symphony's still not playing. There's still a lot of concerts canceled, and as long as you're here enjoying this and getting your feedback that you are, then I'm going to continue the series at least through the end of June. I have, believe it or not, June, the last, thanks for the hearts, the last Saturday in June is June 27th, which is the 3-year anniversary of my hand accident, and I'm working on an all-American program with some new things that I haven't played on these Left-Hand Lemonades, and that would be an exciting thing to feature there. This series is totally free. It's Facebook Live. It's totally free, and tips are also more than welcome. If it's feasible for you, there's a link in the program description with my PayPal account at paypal.me/Lisa Spector, but there's a live link, and thank you. I just so appreciate the support. And also let me know, any feedback you have of anything you'd like to hear that I've either played, I want to repeat, or different Chopin or something like that. More of Gina. I know I am due to show you some tricks, and it's just getting the camera angle, and I'm working on that. It might be something I post separately. The other thing I'm working on that I'm going to do by next week is I did not know until a couple days ago that I can simultaneously, through an app, broadcast this on YouTube Live at the same time as this. So some of my following actually is not on Facebook. You obviously all are. But if you'd prefer or would also like to see it on YouTube Live, if you could let me know in a comment, that would be great. And working on just more technology around that, and lots of things in the works. Wrapping up an online class, my second online class, and planning others, including demystifying classical music, which many of you have expressed interest in. And Eric, that's so funny. I was going to ask, I am hearing the foghorn. For some reason, it's louder now, so I am just less than a mile from the famous Half Moon Bay foghorn. I'm hearing it when I play, and it sounds like Eric heard it at the harbor. The mic is really good, so maybe you are hearing it, which actually is interesting because I'm going to be doing some professional recording here, and was curious about that too. And Eric likes the idea of the YouTube. Great. So I wish you a good week. Stay safe as we're going into opening up our shelter in place gets lighter. And Elizabeth, glad you like the program. So what I'm working on, it's easier for me when I can do this model. So last week I did sonatas, and this week I did preludes. Another 2 I'm working on is nocturnes and an adagio with slow movements of Beethoven and Haydn and Mozart sonatas and other adagio movements, and it just gives me it's somehow programming is a little bit easier for me because playing every week is a new thing for me with coming up with all this music, which I'm loving. This is like, I'm so grateful you're spending your time here, and I'm so grateful to have this time to share with you, because there is nothing I'd rather be doing during this time where we're all learning how precious time is. There's nothing I'd rather be doing than playing the piano, learning music, performing, practicing, doing online classes, and sharing my music talents with you in any way I possibly can. So I'm so grateful that you're sharing your time with me to honor that. Thank you. Wish you a safe week, and I will see you here next week. Please share this, watch parties, telling your friends, joining my email list at lisaspector.com. All of that is so helpful to get the word out. It's just such a huge source of support. Thank you, and be safe, and we'll see you next week.